Do you care for a bit of alcohol before you go to bed? It will help ease your nerves, though I think you should not be nervous after sitting on my lap. Do you want some?
Edgar poured a glass for himself. The empty plates of food were placed outside their door, on the trays they were brought in on, for someone to take when they passed by. After a quick freshening up in the bathroom to clean their mouths, all that remained now was the alcohol. Just a tiny bit. Alessandra showed a tiny space between her fingers to reference the amount that she wanted. It would certainly help her relax, having to share a bed with Edgar. Thank you. She accepted the drink.
Do not let the sweet taste fool you with how much alcohol is in there. Drink it slowly, or I will have to stay up all night listening to you speaking about things that do not make any sense.
It is really sweet. Alessandra's eyes lit up from the taste. She was used to the bitter ones at her old home. Oh, you get a strong aftertaste. She handed the cup back to Edgar. Alessandra began to braid her hair to make it more bearable for when she would be sleeping. Edgar had returned to the room before Sally could do it for her. In the meantime, Edgar closed the window he had left open and threw one more piece of wood into the fire to make the heat last longer. If needed, he would wake up later on to add more wood to keep Alessandra from becoming cold. With her hair done, Alessandra crawled onto the massive bed from the edge where she sat. She wanted to be the first one in bed so that she could pretend to fall asleep quickly, and then Edgar would leave her alone. Alessandra lay down facing the window so she would be able to look at the night sky view. Looking at the sky from her bed always made her relax after long, hectic days. She snapped her eyes shut when she felt the bed slightly sink behind her, which meant Edgar had laid down.
Trying to fall asleep quickly? I told you that you are too predictable. I don't know what else I can say to make you more comfortable in bed with me. It would be no problem if you wish for me to leave, Alessandra.
Stay, she replied without opening her eyes. This bedroom had belonged to him much longer than it belonged to her. It would be rude to ask him to leave just because she was nervous about sleeping next to a man. How could she ever get rid of her nerves if she kept pushing him away?
Okay. I won't judge you if you want to make your way over here during the night. You can hug me.
Alessandra threw a pillow behind her to stop Edgar from talking. Good night, she said. She didn't have to turn around and look at him to know he was smiling.
Good night, Alessandra.
Duchess, breakfast will start in half an hour. What do you want to do until then? Continue organizing the art room, or perhaps go through the rest of the gifts the Duke prepared for you?
Sally asked. What? Alessandra snapped out of her thoughts. Sorry, my mind was elsewhere.
Breakfast will start in half an hour. What do you wish to do until then?
Sally repeated herself. From the moment she had visited Alessandra early in the morning to get her ready for the start of the day, she found Alessandra to be lost in her thoughts. She figured something must have happened when the Duke and Duchess were alone, but it wasn't her place to ask. I'd like to take a quick walk outside to clear my mind. I haven't seen much of outside as of yet, Alessandra replied. Why do I keep thinking about this morning? She sighed. When she woke up early this morning, Edgar wasn't shy about mentioning the fact that she rolled around a lot in her sleep. She rolled around so much that she eventually ended up on his side of the bed. Alessandra had no idea what had happened, as she was in deep sleep, but she was absolutely terrified about what Edgar might have witnessed. This was the first time she wished Edgar teased her about something she did, so she would know if she did anything embarrassing last night. He kept quiet after mentioning she rolled around, but the tiny smile he tried to hide from her told Alessandra that he was hiding something. It was either to blackmail her later or to save her from being severely embarrassed.
The weather is changing, and outside is cool enough for us to not need an umbrella. The butler informed me a dressmaker would be coming to take your measurements and provide you with an entirely new wardrobe. The dressmaker sent a lengthy apology for not being able to visit yesterday, as Edgar's request was short-noticed. You must be thrilled to have such a loving husband offering you so many things.
Sally felt jealous of what Alessandra had to experience. It is only because I don't have anything good to wear as a duchess, Alessandra replied with less enthusiasm than Sally expected.
That might be true, but I've heard from the maids that the Duke was personally involved with all of your gifts. Other women will eye you with envy if word of this ever gets out. Edgar's heart has finally melted. Everyone will talk about it for weeks.
If they find out our relationship is based solely on a contract, they'll talk about how desperate I am for years, Alessandra thought. She could not feel excited about things happening in a fake relationship. She was well aware there were no feelings behind the things Edgar did for her, as Sally claimed. Rather than respond to Sally, she decided to keep her mouth shut and walk outside to the garden to clear her mind as she wanted. As Alessandra and Sally walked along the side of the house so someone could easily find them when breakfast was ready, they found a man in clothes not suited for outdoors, digging a hole next to a flower bed. "Is that the gardener?" Alessandra asked Sally, as she wanted to know why the man's clothes looked like he was going to a party, but he was ruining them with dirt. Sally shrugged her shoulders, also confused with the choice of clothes to do gardening.
I wasn't introduced to anyone as of yet. Maybe the gardener wishes to impress someone?
"How long are you going to stand there for?" The stranger, or who they presumed to be the gardener, asked after feeling their burning gaze on him. "Aren't you going to introduce yourself?"
Listen here.
Sally stepped up to scold the man for talking carelessly to Alessandra when she was the Duchess.
You should be the one to introduce yourself to the Duchess.
"Duchess? You are the person I was just thinking about. Does my daughter-in-law mind giving me a hand with these flowers? The soil is much better for them on the other side." "Hello." Edmund looked up from the hole he was digging to see the poor soul who married his son. "Daughter-in-law?" Both Alessandra and Sally stated in disbelief.
You are Edgar's father?
Sally asked. "That should be obvious from me referring to her as my daughter-in-law, and the fact that Edgar looks just like me. Judging from the peaceful walk you were having, I presume you have not run into my wife yet? Come, join me to prolong having to meet her soon." Edmund patted the space next to himself for Alessandra to sit on the grass. "Young master, your mother is here." Alfred knocked on the door of Edgar's office. "Send her away," Edgar replied, as he was not in the mood to deal with his mother. He had little to no information on the person taking the young girls, and after putting it on hold to spend time with Alessandra, there was a lot to be done by the end of the day, along with his other work. "Is that how you greet your mother, Edgar?" Priscilla entered the room, ignoring Alfred, advising her to come back another time. "I traveled for countless hours to be here for breakfast, and this is how you treat me? I raised you to be better than this." "You didn't raise me, Mother. Alfred and the nannies you hired did. I am too busy to entertain anything you have to say. Alfred, please see her out." Edgar did not look up from his papers. "You will do no such thing," Priscilla said to Alfred. "We have a lot to talk about, Edgar. Do you care to explain why you would get married in the middle of the night to that woman?" "No," Edgar bluntly replied. This was exactly why he suggested leaving, to avoid the headaches his mother would cause. "Good morning, Edgar." Heather made her presence known. "Why did you bring her here, Mother?" Edgar sighed, finally looking up at the two intruders. "Why wouldn't I? Heather has been keeping me company so that I wouldn't lose my mind from boredom. Do you know how embarrassing it was for her to hear you have gotten married when I promised the two of you would get married to each other? Don't you care about her reputation?" "That's why I told you to mind your business, Mother. I never entertained the idea of one day being with Heather. Even if I had not gotten recently married, there would be no chance for her. It is you who does not care about her reputation, Mother. Please leave now that our conversation is over." Edgar put his paper to the side and stood up from his desk. He needed to find Alessandra to make sure she did not have a conversation with his mother. "I am not leaving, Edgar. I convinced your father to stay until winter has passed, and I wish to meet the woman who thinks she will continue to be a duchess. I do not approve of her, and you know it. Send her away and marry Heather instead," Priscilla proposed. It wasn't too late to end the short marriage and marry the right person. "What on earth compelled you to marry a woman with a disgusting face?" "I should ask what made her marry a man with a mother who has a disgusting attitude. You have never seen her face to speak about it. I am warning you, Mother, do not speak ill of Alessandra to her face, or I will deal with you, and my father won't be able to stop me." Heather found it hard to stand by and listen to Edgar threaten his mother for his new wife. She was right when she thought he had fallen in love. There was nothing to be done to bring them together, and it was time Priscilla realized it too. Priscilla scoffed, unable to handle the way Edgar spoke to her. She was tempted to slap him for his words, but refrained, as she never struck her son. And now was not the time to get on his bad side when she wanted him to listen to her. "Heather has always been the best choice to become Duchess. She has spent her entire life preparing, but someone with a terrible reputation stole it. When will you view her as a woman?" "Do you think I have been viewing her as a man this entire time? I have 2 good eyes, thanks to the vegetables Alfred practically forced down my throat. I am a married man, and I suggest you refrain from mentioning having an interest in Heather. Fish will fall from the sky the day I become interested in her. Leave," Edgar said specifically to Heather this time. His mother was stubborn and would not leave without the help of his father, but if Heather wished to not look like a fool, still expecting to be with a married man, she should leave now to truly save her reputation. Priscilla grabbed Heather's hand so the young woman wouldn't consider leaving. "She is not going anywhere. I am currently her guardian, so she goes where I go." "Works for me, since I want you to leave too. I am trying my hardest not to be rude to you, Mother. I know how you are, and I tolerate your behavior when it comes to me, but I will not allow you to mistreat my wife. Accept the fact that I am married and leave." Edgar walked past his mother, Heather, and Alfred to leave the room to find Alessandra. "I will ruin her," Priscilla confessed before Edgar could leave. "I will not have that cursed girl as my daughter-in-law. I will only accept Heather as your wife. If you try anything with Alessandra, you will lose your only child. Edgar replied, continuing to leave the room. You did this, Priscilla glared at Alfred. It angered her to hear her child say he was raised by the butler. She was very involved in his life, enough to spend countless years looking for the perfect wife to give her grandchildren. She showered Edgar with the finest things any child could desire, but the credit for the man he became always went to the butler. You turned him against me. Alfred didn't reply to Priscilla's words. He had never talked ill of Priscilla to Edgar, and he certainly did not turn Edgar against her. Priscilla had always underestimated how perceptive Edgar was, and that he was capable of making his own judgment. He could not tell her these things because he was only the butler, and he had no right to tell a mother about trying to understand her child rather than blaming others. Just like their interactions in the past, he had to stay quiet while Priscilla thought of how to get rid of him from Edgar's side. Alfred hoped Priscilla would fail in trying to get rid of Alessandra. Are we leaving, Mrs. Collins? Heather spoke up to break the suffocating tension between Priscilla and the butler. Have you not been paying attention? Priscilla snapped at Heather. We are not going anywhere until I see the woman who has possessed my son. Had I remained in Lockwood, I could have stopped this ridiculous union. We must follow after Edgar, quickly. Edgar, do not walk away from her. I have a right to be involved with who becomes the Duchess. Edgar? Priscilla called for her son as she hurried after him, but Edgar did not slow down his pace. This boy will be the death of me. Hurry before we lose him, Heather. Heather was right on Priscilla's heel, chasing after Edgar. When will this end? She wondered. Why was she being dragged further into Priscilla's desperation to control who Edgar married? I am not so desperate to chase after a married man, but I cannot go against Priscilla. Priscilla kept making it hard for her to be able to move on and court someone else. Why couldn't everyone just accept that Edgar was now married and he did not care what anyone had to say? Edgar rolled his eyes, highly annoyed with his mother, and she had only been here for a couple of minutes. He was being generous by not having her escorted off the property, but first he had to find someone else aside from Alessandra. His father would not allow his mother to come alone, which meant he was somewhere hiding, but Edgar wanted the two of them gone. His parents could stay past winter as they liked, but he was not going to welcome his mother into his home when she was blatantly disrespecting his wife. It would make Edgar no different than Desmond, who stood by and allowed others to mistreat his daughter. Where is the Duchess? Edgar stopped a maid who was about to walk past him. He had not seen her since he got dressed and left their bedroom. Last anyone saw the Duchess, she was going outside, Duke Collins. Carry on. Edgar turned left to go outside to find Alessandra. There was a possibility that his father and Alessandra had run into each other since she was outside. His father always ran to the garden each time he visited. Edgar! Priscilla yelled, still chasing after her son to speak about his marriage. He could not avoid his own mother forever, and he could not get rid of her. She, too, had power and status, just like her son. You are making this harder than it needs to be. Just kill me, Edgar muttered. Another second of this, and he would do it himself. He could only blame himself for giving his parents clear access to his land. Alcohol or a cup of coffee was needed before Edgar could speak with his mother. He had fallen into such a good flow with Alessandra after everything that happened yesterday, and now his mother was here to ruin everything. The only way he could get rid of her at this point would be to have her thrown into a cell. He would have her released after a day or two. Maybe. It didn't take long for Edgar to spot Alessandra sitting down on the grass next to his father. Of course, his father would be trying to rearrange the way his garden looked. Edgar could not understand how a man once wrapped up deep in politics threw it all away to become a gardener.
Why did you make her sit on the ground when she is a duchess? When will you realize not everyone wants to get their hands dirty so early in the morning? Why did you bring your wife here?
Edgar threw question after question at his father. He was equally upset with his father as he was with his mother.
Is that how you greet me after we have been apart for so long?
Edmund placed his hand on his forehead to protect his eyes from the rays of the sun as he looked up at Edgar.
You've grown taller since I last saw you. Do not compliment me while I am angry.
Of course. Edmund warned Priscilla their son would not be happy with their visit, but she did not listen. She never did.
Your mother heard the word of your marriage, and nothing could stop her from returning to Lockwood.
Take her and leave while I'm being kind to you both, said Edgar.
What did I do?
Edmund questioned, due to the fact he was innocent in this situation. He dusted off the dry mud from his hands and got up on his feet. He tried to offer a hand to Alessandra to help her stand, but Edgar smacked it away and helped her up instead.
Rude,
Edmund thought.
It is what you didn't do that I am angry with. Why didn't you stop her from bringing Heather here?
Edgar asked, his annoyance clear in his voice. His father was smart enough to know why Heather was with his mother. Who is Heather? Alessandra thought. For the time that she was here, she had not once heard the name Heather. She assumed Heather was a woman Edgar was once in a relationship with, and his mother was petty enough to bring the woman here to mess with their marriage.
Heather's parents have also returned to Lockwood. What does that have to do with what I asked?
Edgar interrupted his father. He had no time for the bullshit or anyone dancing around the fact that a woman his parents wanted him to wed was now in the same home as his new wife. It screamed nothing but drama.
Do not get smart with me, Edgar. I'd have no problem putting you in your place with your wife here. It is only thanks to luck I returned home in time to see your mother getting on a carriage to come visit you. I'm not getting any younger, so the two of you should deal with your problems.
Edmund was tired of the constant bickering between his wife and son.
Edgar, I told you not to walk away from me.
Edmund, I hope you are well aware your son threatened me, Priscilla informed her husband. She walked with her head high and grace in every movement. She did not look at Alessandra or acknowledge her just yet.
We've spent too much time away from Edgar, and now our relationship has become worse.
It is your actions that make our relationship bad. We are going, Alessandra. Edgar took her hand and didn't wait for her to say a word. He was taking her to the privacy of their bedroom to avoid her speaking with his mother. Then he was going to toss his parents out of his home. Edgar, why are we leaving when your parents are here? Alessandra questioned. After speaking with his father, she learned how far they had traveled when they heard the news of Edgar's marriage. Alessandra was aware he was taking her away to protect her from his mother's words, but she could handle it. I don't want to run away from your parents, Edgar. We are married, and they will be in my life forever. Alessandra did not want Edgar to have to pick between her and his mother just because she was his wife. There was no reason for him to stand up against his mother for someone he was tied to thanks to a contract.
Not if I ban them.
Edgar released her hand now that they were a good distance from his parents. But looking back at where they came from, he saw his mother once again chasing after him with Heather at her side.
Heather is someone my mother has always pushed for me to marry. Do not let that upset you.
It doesn't, Alessandra honestly replied. If you wanted to be with her, I wouldn't be standing here. I don't want to run, Edgar. I'm not afraid of what your mother has to say. It is time for breakfast, and it would be rude not to have them stay.
After everything the world has thrown at you, you are too kind, Alessandra. I could never be like this. If you are determined to let her stay, I won't stop you, but I will not allow my mother to disrespect you. That woman gets ahead of herself too much because there is hardly anyone to put her in her place,
said Edgar. Did you really threaten your mother?
Alessandra wanted to believe his mother was exaggerating when she said this. Don't worry about it. Mother?
Edgar looked to their side, where Priscilla was impatiently tapping her foot.
For a woman who cares so much about manners and etiquette, you are not displaying it with your behavior right now.
If you did not run away from me, I would not need to act like a fool and chase after you, Edgar.
You?
Priscilla finally looked at Alessandra and frowned at the sight of the mask. What was wrong with Edgar for him to choose her instead of the other Barrett girl? Don't you have any sense? Alessandra touched Edgar's hand to stop him from approaching his mother. Just from the first thing Priscilla asked her, Alessandra could see why Edgar did not want her to speak to his mother. She was happy to have Edgar protecting her, but this was a battle she needed to win on her own. Plus, Alessandra did not want to see Edgar being at odds with the woman who gave him life. Alessandra ignored Priscilla's question and said, Edgar and I are extending the invitation for everyone to have breakfast with us. You came just in time. Priscilla found Alessandra to be sly, standing here and saying she was inviting them to stay. Only one day had passed, but Alessandra had already begun acting as if she owned the house. Edgar, give us some privacy.
So that you and Heather could gang up on my wife? I don't think so. She's inviting you to breakfast, and I have no problem getting rid of you. Do not push it, or I will do as I want,
said Edgar. Heather balled her fists, feeling sad Edgar would think she was the type to bully his wife. All she wanted to do right now was run away and lock herself in her room. Why was it so hard for anyone to see that she did not want to be here? However, now that she saw what Edgar's wife looked like, Heather understood why Priscilla was so upset. Heather always had an image of what Edgar's wife would look like, and Alessandra was nowhere near what she envisioned. It annoyed Heather to learn she had lost to a woman who could not show half her face. What's so bad about me? Heather wondered. I'll be fine, Edgar. Please tell Alfred we'll be having more guests. If I need anything, Sally can come to find you. Alessandra reassured him. A one-on-one was inevitable anyway. Why not get what Priscilla wanted to say out in the open now? Edgar did not want Alessandra to be subjected to his mother's words, but he also did not want to keep pulling her away when she was confident enough to want to speak with his mother. Many times he told her being a duchess came with power, and now was another chance for her to showcase it. His mother thrived off knowing she could make people fear her. Right now, Edgar could see his mother expecting to break Alessandra with her intimidating presence. On the other hand, Alessandra looked so confident that it would be a shame to make it look like she needed her husband to hide her from a conversation with another woman. I'll be back. Do not try anything, Mother. Alessandra watched Edgar walk away from the three of them. She snuck a glance at the woman named Heather and felt a slight pain in her chest that she could not explain. I have not properly introduced myself. My name is Alessandra. I do not care what your name is. Priscilla stopped Alessandra, as she did not care to be pleasant with her. I asked you a question earlier. Do you not have any sense? In what world do you think a marriage between you and my son should exist? Do you honestly view yourself as worthy to stand by him? In this world, Alessandra replied, surprising both Priscilla and Heather. That is why I said yes and married your son. My name is Alessandra Collins. It's a pleasure to meet you. She held out her hand midair to greet Priscilla. Alessandra was going to be respectful to Priscilla, and whatever happened later, at least she tried. You? A Collins? Priscilla chuckled. You are not a Collins, my dear. I have not accepted you, and neither will the rest of the family. You do not belong with my son. And somewhere in that head you know it too. You're making things difficult for the people around you. Heather is now going to be talked about because you stole the man she was promised to marry. Forgive me, but you should know better than me that Edgar does things on his own accord. Even if I did not marry him, she would not be his wife. And I cannot steal what never belonged to someone else, Alessandra replied. It appeared like Priscilla wanted her to feel sorry or apologize for being with the man Heather was promised. But Alessandra did not care. She was not responsible for Edgar not picking anyone, and she was not going to be pressured by others to feel guilty.